Let's jump right into this. So we got a great lineup here. Lindsay Cole, starting with you, Director of Clinical Services. One of the questions we get is, what is the interdisciplinary approach, when it comes to Gulfside?
What the interdisciplinary approach is it includes all doctors, chaplains, social workers, advanced registered nurse practitioners, and nurses, as well as volunteers, and we all come together to best care for that patient. So we're not just caring for their patient's physical needs, but we're also caring for their emotional, spiritual, and psychosocial needs as well.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. Those few sentences that you said really encompasses a lot. I mean, you look at how complex we are as human beings, and then you throw in diseases or accidents into the mix, and how all of that comes together with the end of life in some cases. So we're talking about Gulfside Healthcare Services here. So when it comes to that, how is it beneficial to the patient and the family? Right.
What it does is it does a holistic approach to care for the whole patient. So that way we're not just caring for the patient, but we're caring for the family and the primary caregiver as well. So we're ensuring that everybody's needs are met while they're going through this difficult, life-altering experience.
Yeah, Lindsay, right on. And when you look at the folks that are taking care of the loved one, they're making a lot of sacrifices too.
Very much so. And we have specialized programs. We actually have a caregiver support department that is dedicated towards supporting our caregivers and the families associated with the patients, which really helps in end-of-life care.
Yeah, end-of-life care. Now, and it's also not just the end of life, right? These are situations where you have home health care as part of your business. You can help people that have an accident or they're in a position where they need that help in home. They'd rather be at home, right?
Definitely. Gulfside Services has 3 separate business lines. We cover Gulfside Hospice, Gulfside Home Health, as well as Gulfside Palliative Care.
Yes, and so palliative care, what would you define that for our audience?
Palliative care is more a palliation of a pain or symptom management. So if you have a chronic illness or a chronic disease, where hospice care, the patient has a life-limiting illness of 6 months or less.
Okay, so that's great. Now, when you look at that, who pays for this? How does it get paid? Because I know there's a lot of misconceptions. Is there government programs? How does that side of it work? The economics work?
Mainly, it's covered by the patient's insurance, and if not, we do take indigent patients as well.
Okay.
And we do that with our charity programs that we have.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, so when you look at that, we're talking with Gulfside Healthcare Services here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com. You can see links to all of our expert contributors there on the website at consumerqb.com. Frank, question for you. As the chaplain on the team, you're looking at spiritual care, and what kind of spiritual care do you guys offer, do the chaplains offer to the folks?
There's a variety, because it all depends on the patient and the family's spiritual background, their faith, where they're coming from. And so we go in and become a friend, talk with them, find out where they're coming from, depending on their faith. If they want us to contact their church, have one of their spiritual leaders come and talk with them, or we can do that. We offer prayer. Some want Bible reading, and some would want communion. Some just want to talk to the chaplain because they got things they want to get off their chest, so to speak. And so we offer all kinds. We even do marriages. We've had people that have been wanting to get married on the deathbed, and we've done that.
Wow, that's interesting. The lifelong partner, we didn't get married. I should have. I feel like I want to make it right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. You probably heard some pretty good stories too, huh?
Yeah, we hear quite a few.
Imagine being in that position, interesting. So you're the chaplain on the team. What else do you see? What are some of the misnomers from your perspective?
Well, one of the misnomers that I want to clarify is, as chaplains, we don't go in and Bible thumper type people. We don't just pound people over the head. I like to approach each patient as a friend, and I tell them, I say, yes, I'm a chaplain, but I'm your friend. I'm somebody you could trust. I'm going to come and visit with you, and there are times where patients just ask us, can you just be here with me? I'm by myself and I'm afraid. And there are times I sit and just hold a hand until they fall asleep, and then just quietly leave.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Very interesting, man. So we're want to bring Ashley into the conversation here. Ashley, how do the hospice social workers, how do they help patients and navigating these different types of healthcare system? The system is so. I think even as an outsider looking in, it's like, wow, there's so much there, right?
Of course, and a lot of times our patients and families are coming to us after they've received a really significant diagnosis. So a lot of them are reeling from that and quite shocked about, what do we do next? Is treatment still an option? Am I looking at my last final days or weeks of my life? So a lot of times we just help navigate those questions. We help I'm able to give them resources that they might need to be able to continue to live at home and with comfort and dignity. And some other times when I walk into the house and they don't have that support available, then what does that look like? What are our next steps? Because there's healthcare is such a huge and complicated system sometimes.
Yes.
So I can help them with answering those questions.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions to be had, especially you got an injury, you got, maybe if it was some kind of an accident, you've got insurances, attorneys involved. It just gets to a situation where all of that's on top of already being, in some cases, a soccer mom or whatever the situation is for those families.
Right. So a lot of times I'm there at the bedside making phone calls with them.
Yep.
Doing research online. Sometimes I don't know the answers, but I'm there to help figure it out with them.
Yeah, being on that human level.
Exactly.
You're getting down to that human level. I heard an interesting story. I teach negotiation and branding at the Realtor Boards, and I love education, giving back. And there was an interesting story about the patient wanted to leave for whatever reason. They said, no, you can't leave. The patient wanted to leave, and he says, so the doctor comes in and actually says, hey, can I get you a glass of water? He gets some water, sits down, levels with them, and just asks the open-ended questions. Why would you want to leave? What's going on? And I got to run these errands. I got this and that. The original of the story was waiting on the lab reports to come back. I'm not waiting another day. The lab, so it was a story about having empathy. It was a story of understanding and asking the right questions, open-ended questions, instead of no, you can't leave. What makes you want to leave? Right.
Exactly.
It's all about how you frame it in a lot of cases when it comes to negotiations as well. But you're negotiating with clients every day, I imagine.
Every day. I think the whole team is. We want to, sometimes there's a lot of surface level things going on. There's a lot of chaos sometimes in the situation. So we try to just get a little deeper and see what are your actual needs? What are your concerns? How can we help you?
Yeah.
And like you said, every situation is different. We want to meet them where they are.
Absolutely. All right, Gulfside.org, Gulfside.org. When we come back, more from our expert contributors here in studio. Lindsay Cole, Ashley Monteath, Frank DiPronio here in studio as well. Here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Today we're talking with Gulfside.org, Gulfside Healthcare Services. Lindsay Cole in studio. We got Ashley Monteath in studio, as well as Frank DiPronio, as well, the chaplain on the team here in studio with us today. So we talk about, I always like to ask our expert contributors, we got 50 plus partners, 80 different categories. We're talking about CPAs, financial advisors, attorneys, solar companies, lots of different niche businesses, right? Self-defense, I think it's so big these days too. People don't underestimate, you do need to defend yourself a lot of times. So when it comes to those areas, I like to sometimes just open it up and say, give me a success story. I think that stories are so good. They go that further away. You know how they say a picture, is worth 1,000 words, right? I think a story for our medium here, we're on radio, of course, we're on Apple TV, Amazon, Roku as well. But I heard, we might have a good story here, Frank. Give us something.
Wow. Good story. I think all the patients we deal with is a success story. Mm-hmm. But some of the patients that I most drawn to are patients who are by themselves.
Yeah.
And had a particular patient, the daughter was up north, and she took a turn, and she was ready to breathe her last, and by herself, had nobody there, and the daughter was concerned. So I did go and just sit next to the patient's mom, or to the daughter's mom, and just talked with her. She was non-responsive, but she was agitated. So as I talked with her, leaned over and talked in her ear, and just talked and prayed with her, and held her hand, and you just see her settle right down, and just settled. She closed her eyes, eventually fell asleep, and a few moments later she did pass on. But she had great comfort, and those are the stories I like. That's what makes what we do worth it.
Yeah,
you can bring them comfort when they're breathing their last.
That's huge, man. Do you feel, just curiosity here, I mean, do you feel a different presence in the room when you know that moment happened?
You do. I remember one time there was a gentleman just struggling to breathe, and he only had a nephew who was in the room, and I could see that the nephew was really struggling with this. And so I just leaned over the patient, and he and I got to know him. We'd met many times, and just talking to him and praying with him in his ear. You want me to pray with him? And just as I finished, the nephew was there, and he looked. He says, "He's gone." And sure enough, as I was praying, he just departed. And the nephew just gave me a big old hug and said, "Thank you. That was amazing."
Yeah.
You could sense it. You could feel it.
Yeah, you sense that appreciation, that gratitude, that empathy. It's a very, wow. I remember my grandma, in that situation, with hospice, and I was even a kid at the time. Just remembering those moments, it's like they really stick with you.
Mm-hmm.
You do remember them.
And that's our goal. Our goal is to bring comfort and peace right through to the end, and of course dignity. We want to give them dignity. That's the thing that concerns me.
Yeah.
When I see patients that don't have anybody,
Yes.
that's a person there. That's not
sad.
just a number. That's a person.
Yeah.
I want to stay there. I want to be there. I want to make sure that they know that there's somebody there that does care. And we do care. We care for our patients very much.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking with Gulfside.org, Gulfside Healthcare Services, Gulfside.org. Lindsay Cole, Ashley Monteath, Frank DiPronio here in studio. And yeah, you're right on point, Frank. I mean, it is, that's a human being that's different choices, different things have happened, lots of decisions in life to get you to that point where you are on your deathbed and there's a lot of decisions you could make, whether it's dietary or all the different things that could come into that play, right? But I think it's so sad when they're there by themselves. I mean, you see that happen. It could be a veteran that came back, had PTSD, was mean to his family, distanced himself. All those different scenarios play out. You see all those play out.
I've had that exact same thing.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens. And the nice thing about interdisciplinary is that we support one another. We contact each other. We let each other know that what's going on with this patient, and then we work together as a team to help that patient and the family.
Yeah.
The family. Our service doesn't stop when the patient passes. We continue to help with the family.
Wow. Yeah, that's such a big part of it. I want to go back to Lindsay as well, getting the family involved, helping, coach them through, whether it's, bandages or, whatever those types of things, the knowledge that you're able to pass along to the family, that's worth its weight in gold.
It's huge, and that's the part of the interdisciplinary team that works so well, is you have doctors and ARNPs in they're helping the family understand maybe why the wounds are deteriorating. Then you have the nurse caring for the wounds and teaching the family, and then you have a social worker and chaplain supporting the family spiritually and emotionally. Mm-hmm. So you have the whole care provided by the team. It's really a nice picture to have everybody supported and on the same page. And like Frank says, the interdisciplinary team always collaborates, so each member is aware of what's going on with the patient and the family.
Yeah. What other type of programs are available for patients?
We offer multiple different programs. I don't know if you want to talk about some of those.
Sure, I definitely can. I know that Lindsay mentioned earlier our volunteers, and a lot of times in those cases where somebody is alone, is limited to the resources available to them, maybe can't go out shopping anymore because they can't drive, or they don't have anybody who's coming to visit them, their family's out of town. Our volunteer programs, we have an amazing team of volunteers that will go shopping for our patients. We'll just go and be a companion for them, play cards, watch TV together, whatever it might be. And also, when we are focused on the family too, sometimes those primary caregivers are there 24/7, and they just need a few hours to go out and get their nails done, or go shopping, or go to the doctor for themselves. So the volunteer can come and stay with the patient to allow the family to a chance to care for themselves.
Wow, we talk a lot about random act of kindness here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We always end our show with that, and we talk about that. So what an opportunity for you as a viewer, listener, go to Gulfside.org and talk about being a volunteer. I'm sure they can submit a form, ask to be a volunteer. That's something that you can do. An hour a week, 2 hours a month, whatever it is. You come out, you help folks, you run some errands, you maybe come into that, and just what a random act of kindness you got. Here's a story that our producer gave us. James said, there's a 15-year-old that takes care of his elderly neighbors. Check this out, really cool story. So every day this 15-year-old boy checks on his neighbors who live across the street. Romy Mitchell's been assisting Trent Joyner with groceries, cutting their lawn, whatever they need. So Joyner's daughter Tiki shared photos of Mitchell visiting a couple in the hospital when they had a medical setback. So just want to take a moment to recognize this sweet little fellow lives across the street from his parents. She wrote on Facebook, he checks on them every day. He's grown to love and care for them deeply. And so just another random act of kindness. Something as simple as that can really make a big difference.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a few other things that we can do. I know you mentioned our veterans, and we have a lot of veterans who come on our service at the end of life. And it's so important to our team that we honor them. We take a moment to say thank you.
Yes.
Especially some of our veterans have never heard that before. So we have a special pinning ceremony that we do to our team can gather around them and just take a moment to say thank you and to recognize the sacrifice they made. And that is such a huge, I think, like you said, that act of kindness and recognition for them is makes such a huge impact on the end of life for a veteran going through that.
Yeah, it really does. All right, so parting words of wisdom. We've got about a minute left here. Give us some good stuff, parting words, or maybe a call to action. Go to the website, gulfside.org, and check it out. Get involved. Find out more about it.
Mm-hmm. And to remember that hospice is not a place, it's a type of care.
Type of care. Yep. And your three, give me your three. You got hospice is one of your...
Hospice, we have home health, and then we also do palliative care.
Palliative care. So 3 different business lines of service for Gulfside Healthcare. And so hey, great stuff. Engage with the show. It's all about you thinking about how you can get involved with the show, and ultimately, go to the website, talk to them, let them know you heard about them here on the show. You heard the show, and great stuff. And just thanks for what you do. I think a lot of times we don't think the first responders that you guys are, in my opinion, are right there along with these guys. I mean, it's great what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And we'll be right back here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We got expert contributors coming in, bottoms up, Rick Nickerson, and more from our expert contributors. And we'll be right back after this short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll see.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call